Man, you guys are gonna give me a bad name here. You vinyl community members really like my showcasing of my compact disc wall, even though I didn't show everything. I went through everything. Again, that's rock, soul, country, everything else, except no Beatles there, no jazz, no collections, no soundtracks, no classical. So, I've shown a little bit of my jazz CDs, so I'm going to show you my jazz CDs now. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. Hey, I love jazz, I love music, and as I said in the other video, in fact, if you haven't watched the other video, go to my top of my channel and look at my entire CD collection almost. This is my jazz CD collection, which is on the ledge, sort of the parapet over the foundation in my split level home. Again, I love vinyl. I'm not a vinyl purist or an audiophile snob, but I do like great sound. And upstairs, pretty much in my my main room, is where I usually play mostly vinyl. Occasionally, I play CDs up there. It just depends what I'm doing. But that's my focus Zen music thing. Frequently in my sweet spot. Don't take that personally. And you know, it's funny. I wore one of these shirts the other day on a video, and someone said, "Oh, 3 or 4 people said it's my Charlie Sheen shirt." I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about, because I haven't seen 3 Men and a Baby or 2.5 Men or 3 Men, 2 Babies, Charlie Sheen with a hooker and a Coke bottle. I don't know what you're talking about. I used to wear these shirts a lot in the 80s and 90s, and I love them. I have a bunch of them. These are from forever. Austin Record Convention, I went 3 years in a row when I visited my friend, the archivist, who used to live there. So anyway, jazz records, but anyway, downstairs in my office here where my CDs are, this is where I usually play CDs. I have an old turntable dual from the late 80s that occasionally play records, but not a lot, mostly for CDs. So let's, without further ado, here is the jazz section. Okay, first of all, up here I have several box sets. A beautiful Charlie Parker box set. Charlie Christian, one of the great guitar players, played with Benny Goodman. The Bizarre Cube of Herbie Hancock. Is this the Warner Brothers years or Columbia years? I'm blanking out right now. But anyway, I should have researched this. I know this, I can't remember. The famous rusted box of the entire complete Verve, Bill Evans on Verve, that rusts. I'm not going to open it right now. Let's see what I got here. I do have, let's see, there's Fats Waller, great piano player, Herbie Hancock, the incomplete Blue Note sessions, a complete Dexter Gordon Blue Note section, and some Frank Sinatra there. I did show this before, Duke Ellington, RCA, the Centennial Edition. 20 years old. Okay, let me see. So we're starting with Cannonball Adderley. Yep, that's my first. A bunch of Cannonball Adderley stuff. We got Mose Allison. I love Mose Allison. You guys should listen to Mose Allison. He doesn't get enough love here. Get this collection, The Atlantic, Mose Allison. But his versions of Parchment Farm and Young Man's Blues, you know, The Who. Pete Townsend is a big fan of Mose Allison. I have a lot of Louis Armstrong Centennial, Louis Armstrong, The Ultimate Collection, a lot of Louis Armstrong meets Oscar Peterson, Chet Baker Sings, various Chet Baker. I think this is a cool, just before he died, Let's Get Lost, interesting documentary, worth seeing. Look how old he is there, but really worth seeing. Great trumpet player, vocalist, stylistically is really kind of cool. Let's see, this is Count Basie. Love Count Basie. I'm a big band fan. You don't see enough big band here on the VC. So Count Basie, all these great Count Basie selections, Columbia stuff. The Bohunks, I've played these a lot on the VC. Is this a Dutch group, I think? European of some kind. They do a lot of they do tributes to Raymond Scott, who I profiled on my channel. They do a lot of movies, soundtracks, and for the shorts from Laurel and Hardy and the Little Rascals, the Hal Roach comedies. Great stuff. Bick Spiderbeck, someone you should know, cornet player, really great. A lot of Bick Spiderbeck stuff. There, let's see, we got Tony Bennett. Of course, I have to have Tony Bennett because I left my heart in San Francisco. So a lot of Tony Bennett, Art Blakey. I have more Art Blakey on vinyl than I do. Here's one at Birdland. Pee Wee Marquette does the introduction on that one, if you saw one of my videos. Art Pepper, the great Art Blakey Art Pepper's under P. Okay, Art Blakey, Clifford Brown, again, a favorite of mine. This is the Pacific Jazz and Blue Note recordings, complete. I'm not sure if Michael Cascuna curated that, but really amazing. I like these slipcover type things. Clifford Brown, a lot of Clifford Brown. Of course, Dave Brubeck, collection of Columbia. Kenny Burrell, Hoagie Carmichael. Now, not essentially jazz, kind of pop. You've seen him in movies, maybe. He wrote the fabulous song Baltimore Oriole, which is a Beatle connection because George Harrison covered it. But one of my favorites of all time, the complete, I've showed this many times, complete Nat King Cole box set on Mosaic, 18 CDs. We got Ornette Coleman. Look at all this Coltrane, the complete Atlantic recordings of Coltrane, Classic Quartet, the Village Vanguard, a bunch of different Coltranes, Chick Corea, Return to Forever. I'm a big fan of Return Forever. Light as a Feather with Flora Purim and Airto. Harkrum, of course, the Miles Davis metal spine sets. Those are kind of cool. Miles Davis Quintet, Miles Davis at the Black Hawk, the old jazz club in San Francisco, Miles Davis mono recordings, Coltrane, a lot of Miles. Paul Desmond, Deodato. Now, schmaltzy as hell, but this is a fun record because it has that jazzy version of Also Sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss. That's basically, you know it as the theme of 2001. It was used in the film Being There with Peter Sellers. So Roy Etheridge, I got a bunch of Roy Etheridge here. Duke Ellington, I love Duke Ellington, we already said that. Esquivel, Bill Evans, more Bill Evans. Now, I'm a huge fan of Ella Fitzgerald, the complete Ella Fitzgerald songbooks, really great. I'll open this one just because you got to see, these actually have the full on covers. So we got Irving Berlin, we got Gershwin, we got Rodgers and Hart, so on and so forth. Love that. This was a gift one Christmas when it came out. One of my photographers gave it to me. I've got a little CD residue. This is the Côte d'Azur concerts on Verve. Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington in France. Really great record. This is beautiful. Ella and Louis Armstrong on Verve. The great label started by Norman Granz. And Norman Granz actually started it because he was managing Ella, wanted to start a label. I got some little Bill Frisell here. Errol Gardner, the complete Concert by the Sea, Carmel, schmaltzy but beautiful. More Errol Gardner, kind of traditional jazzy piano player. Stan Getz, love Stan Getz. Of course, the Verve stuff here. These are the complete Roos recordings, which are kind of really interesting. I don't know if they're still available. You don't hear these a lot, but this is really good. Stan Getz. Of course, the Bossa Nova albums. We all know these wonderful records. Girl from Ipanema, Getz and Gilberto, etc. Bebel Gilberto, daughter of, really good record. João Gilberto, Dizzy Gillespie. I've said so many times I'm a big fan of Dizzy Gillespie here on this channel. DG Days, Savoy Sessions. This is a really great, love this song. Caravan, couple versions of Caravan on here. A lot of Dizzy Gillespie, kind of one of the great originators of bebop. Got to get stoned with Dizzy Gillespie once at the Monterey Jazz Festival in 1978. The complete Dizzy RCA. Dizzy's Diamonds is his stuff on Verve, the best of the Verve years. Got Benny Goodman. Again, I'm big man, and you, for some reason, you guys here, aren't into a lot of big band stuff as much. Antonio Carlos Jobim. Almost like an origami style, a beautiful booklet and CD package. Okay, Joe Henderson. This is one of those UK, but the original 5 of his albums on small. These are really worth getting, and they're good, and they are official. They're just UK. Billie Holiday on Verve. I got a lot of Billie Holiday. Love Billie Holiday. Freddie Hubbard, again, one of those complete Blue Note 5 album things that are official, but out of the UK. They're not gray area. They're licensed. Jack Kerouac, Beat Stuff. Let's see, Lambert Hendrickson Ross. Lambert Hendrickson Ross, underrated here. Great jazz vocalist. Great John Hendricks, who wrote the lyrics to the version of Birdland. You know that, I think was it Wayne Shorter wrote that song, I'm thinking, or is it Zawinul wrote it by on the Weather Report record, Heavy Weather? Well, what's the other group? The modern, starts with an M. The kind of, the Manhattan Transfer did a hit version of Birdland, and John Hendricks wrote the vocals for that version. Lounge Lizards, white guys playing jazz, but still really good. This is good stuff. This is avant-garde and sort of late 80s, early 90s New York, East Village stuff with John Lurie, who was in some of the early Jim Jarmusch films like Stranger Than Paradise. What's great about the first one especially is Teo Maceo, who worked with Miles for years, produces it. So we got that. We got, of course, provocative percussion and stuff, which is bachelor pad music. You all see these cheap in the vinyl bins by Enoch Light. Branford Marsalis, the Mills Brothers, a great vocalist. Charlie Mingus, Modern Jazz Quartet. Thelonious Monk, a bunch of Thelonious Monk here. Wes Montgomery. Ken Nordine, Word Jazz, great stuff. Yardborough Suite. Okay, we got Charlie Parker. Again, I said this before, I'll say it again. Charlie Parker, one of the great jazz saxophone players and creators of bebop, and a great artist. It's a centennial this year in 2020. Love Charlie Parker. A lot of Charlie Parker, a lot of Oscar Peterson. Bud Powell, gorgeous of beautiful piano music. If you want some great piano music, and this is a beautiful Verve set of Bud Powell. We got Tampa Red. Of course, the great Django Reinhardt, another favorite of mine. I was going to say another friend of mine, but never met the man before my time. Charlie Parker, more Charlie Parker. But Django Reinhardt, the great gypsy jazz guitar player. I did a lot of stuff with Stephen Grappelli. Of course, there's Sonny Rollins, there's Mongo Sangster Maria, Raymond Scott, Bobby Short, Horace Silver. Big fan of Nina Simone. This is the Phillips recordings. I have another box of hers. I also have the RCA years, Sugar in My Bowl, the very best of the RCA years. This is a fun, more modern type of thing. Remixed and Imagine, where it gets into some dance stuff, but really fun versions of remixes. You know, some people are into that or they're not. More Sinatra. I do have Sinatra box sets too, but I got a bunch of the Sinatra things here. Bessie Smith is more really bluesy, but I keep her in the jazz section here. Jimmy Smith, the great organ player, the great Jimmy Smith. This is a retrospective, Blue Note retrospective. We got more Jimmy. I got a shitload of Jimmy Smith coming out of my friggin' ass of organ player, but just great feeling music. Stuff Smith, Art Tatum, the great Art Tatum, Cal Jader, Cal Jader. Now Mel Torme. He's one of the great pop jazz vocalists, and I know a lot of people like to make fun of the whole Mel Torme scene, but this is great. Swing and Schubert Alley, Too Close for Comfort. This is a must if you want some jazz vocals. Now, if you want to go a little campy, which I love, these two. Right now, Strangers in the Night, Pretty Flamingo, My Little Red Book, Secret Agent Man, Homeward Bound. I mean, can you imagine him doing these kind of pop classics? And this one, That's All, again, more pop classics. But the stuff on Columbia, where people in the studio had him do things like that. So we got Tony Williams. I showed these before. My photographer, Michelle Clement. photographed all these great Tony Williams covers from 85 to about 92, 93. So I have all these from when she photographed them. I think this one was just issued on BN80, I think. Great Lester Young. I'm a big Lester Young fan. It's a little falling apart, but gorgeous set. Verviers. Okay, now we got some collections, various Impulse, Roots of Acid Jazz. Remember that in the 90s and everything when all these remastered and rappers and remixers were using acid jazz and doing these mixes of a lot of Blue Note stuff and Verve stuff. So we got that. We got Straight Note Chaser, the documentary from the vaults of Blue Note. Really kind of cool stuff. RCA, First Half Century Jazz, the Verve Story, and on and on and on. These are fun. Cocktails. Okay, this is a cocktail combos. I love, this is a great record to put on when you have people over, because there's got Nat Cole Trio, Johnny Moore's Three Blazers, and Charles Brown. Merry Christmas, baby. I did have Charles Brown in the regular section. It's more bluesy than jazz, but I don't know, maybe I should put him here. Who knows? So there you go. There's the jazz section. And so, compact discs, good entertainment value. You can find them cheap now. Oh, and this is a kind of a cool. This is a photograph of the photographer James Marshall, who I knew. And this is a photograph he took of John Coltrane. This is just when he was recording the album Ballads by Van Gelder, obviously. And this is during that recording. That was on Impulse Records. Now, this particular print used to be owned by the drummer Tony Williams, and I got it as a gift. I knew Tony and I knew Michelle Clement, who Tony gave it to Michelle and Michelle gave it to me years ago. But so it's very sentimental. Signed by Jim Marshall, who I knew, who died about 12 years ago in San Francisco. Tempestuous guy, but a great photographer. I've done features on him, so check it out. The feature on Jim Marshall somewhere on my channel. So I'm losing my voice today for some reason, but Mazzy loves you, and that's the jazz section.